Okay, so, wow, chapter 11, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still processing all of that.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in. I mean, all that cosmic energy, it's a bit much.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. But ready or not, here we are, chapter 12, the yoga of devotion. And I gotta say, this one kind of snuck up on me.
It's funny you say that. I mean, coming off chapter 11 with its grand visions, you almost expect more of the same, but chapter 12 takes a turn. It goes inward.
It does, right. Like, after seeing the universe and everything, suddenly it's about, like, how do we actually live, right? How do we live a good life?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's what makes chapter 12 so powerful. It brings us back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not all cosmic visions and divine chariots. It's about finding that purpose and meaning in our everyday lives.
So, okay, chapter 12, the yoga of devotion. What's it all about? Break it down for me.
Well, on the surface, it seems to be asking a pretty big question, like what's the best way to live a meaningful life? And it poses this interesting contrast. It's like, should we focus on those big abstract ideas or dedicate ourselves to something more tangible, something we can actually do?
Right. Okay, yeah, I see that. It's like, is it better to, say, spend years studying philosophy or roll up your sleeves and, I don't know, volunteer at a soup kitchen or something? Which path actually leads to a fulfilling life?
You've got it. You've totally got it. And what's really interesting is that chapter 12 seems to offer a surprisingly relatable answer. I mean, it's something that I think most of us can connect with. It suggests that, for most people, the path of action, of devotion, might be a more accessible route to that fulfillment.
Okay, so hold on. Back up for a sec.
Mm.
We're talking about yoga here, but we're not talking about, like, downward dog and all that, right?
You are correct. Exactly. In the context of the Gita, yoga is more about a path, a way to achieving something meaningful. And devotion is about that active, dedicated effort that we put into walking that path.
Okay, so it's not just about thinking about doing good. It's about actually
Wow.
doing it.
Yes. Yes, it is. Chapter 12 seems to suggest that real fulfillment doesn't come from just contemplating these big ideas, but from consistently showing up and taking action.
So it's not enough to just daydream about, you know, writing that novel or composing that symphony or whatever. You have to actually, sit down and write it or pick up that instrument and play.
Absolutely. You have to do the work. But it's not just about brute force effort either. There's a nuance here. Think about it this way. Chapter 12 compares this devotion to tending a fire.
Tending a fire.
Yeah, tending a fire. It needs constant care and attention. It needs those consistent actions. It needs fuel.
I like that. So it's about consistently showing up for what you believe in, even when things get tough.
Yeah, even when things get tough, even when it would be easier to just let the fire go out.
Okay. Now, I see what you mean about this being a relatable message. I mean, who hasn't struggled with, staying motivated or sticking to a goal?
Right. We've all been there. Think about a musician practicing their instrument. They don't just study music theory. They play, they practice, they pour their heart into it. And that dedication, that devotion to the process, is where the true fulfillment lies.
So it's more about the journey than just, achieving that perfect result.
Precisely. I mean, you could spend years, decades even, trying to achieve some imagined perfection. But if you're not enjoying the journey, if you're not finding fulfillment in the process itself, what's the point?
That's a great point. It makes me think about, like, a photographer who gets so caught up in getting the perfect shot that they forget to just enjoy the beauty of, I don't know, a sunrise.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. And speaking of that, chapter 12 goes on to highlight some of the qualities of a truly devoted person. They stay calm even when everything's going crazy. They treat others with kindness no matter what, and they don't get too attached to the outcome.
Whoa. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, just thinking about staying calm in the midst of chaos. That's a challenge for anyone, right? And then there's that whole idea of not getting too attached to the outcome. It's almost like it's saying that detachment is a key part of devotion.
It is a paradox. But think about it, that detachment allows you to focus on the process, on the act of devotion itself, rather than getting hung up on whether or not you achieve a specific result.
Right, right. Like if you're too focused on the destination, you might miss the beauty of the journey. Wow. Okay, that's giving me a lot to think about. What about you? What are your big takeaways from chapter 12?
I think for me, it's a reminder that devotion is about finding purpose through connection and action, not just ideas. And that's something we can all apply to our lives.
Yeah, I agree. It's not just about reading about these ideas. It's about embodying them, living them out.
Exactly. And I think chapter 12 offers us a really powerful framework for doing just that. It asks us to consider what we are truly devoted to and how we can bring those qualities of calmness, kindness, and focus into our everyday lives.
Wow. It's a lot to take in, but I'm already feeling a little bit more grounded, a little bit more focused.
Me too. And on that note, I think it's time for us to leave our listeners with a final thought, something to ponder as we prepare for our next deep dive. So, dear listeners, until we meet again for chapter 13, ask yourself this. What are you devoted to, and how can you cultivate those qualities of the devoted in your own life?
Ooh, cliffhanger. I can't wait to dive into chapter 13 and see where this path of devotion takes us next. See you then.